I can't believe I'm sat here with someone who set the hour record. It's amazing. I was the coldest I have ever been going into that hour record. It's like an ice eating competition. I've eaten 1.5 kilos of ice, like shivering away. What? The sock story from the tour. Oh man, he thought it'd be cooler.
Just from what you've seen in downhill mountain biking, how much time is there to be made?
There is a lot there, like seconds. Hello everyone, my name is Rob Warner.
And I'm Elliot Jackson.
And this is Just Ride, the cycling podcast from Red Bull. How are you, Elliot?
I'm great. What are we going to get into today, Rob?
Today, I think we're going to knock everybody's socks off. Never before has there been such a perfect fusion of engineering and athleticism that have come together in one being, that being Dan Bigham, who is a man who has literally blown my tiny mind.
Well, I started laughing when you said blow the socks off because...
That was good, wasn't it?
He's very passionate about socks. He has strong opinions about
Primo
socks.
Roglic goes out in a pair of those like trainer socks at the Tour de France. His phone's going to be off the hook. Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah, that's how important the sock life is to Dan.
Yeah, Dan is an engineer. I mean, like motorsport engineer, Oxford, worked for Mercedes, F1 team.
Our record
holder.
Oh, he's won it. I mean, I can't. He's just the absolute genius, right?
Yeah, for sure.
A genius is the only way I can think about describing this man.
This is one of my favorite episodes we've ever done, and you guys have to make sure you stay till the end because we got him to give a bunch of his takes on all of this engineering and how you could apply it to downhill.
He had a field day.
Yeah. It's so good. So yeah, also make sure you subscribe. Remember to keep in the loop.
Yeah, we love getting all your messages. We read them all. We take note. So let us know if this podcast works for you. If you want more deep dives on engineering, me and Elliot, we absolutely love this one. I mean, shall we get into it? Because it is incredible.
Can't wait.
Dan is one of the most interesting performance engineers in road cycling, if not in all of sport. He's unique, a hugely successful rider and engineer, and his career has been incredibly varied. He's also a great talker. Welcome, Dan Bigham. Thanks for coming in all the way from sunny Norfolk this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. It's pretty awesome to be here and to see you both in the flesh.
I think that this is going to be one of Rob and I's favorite episodes because it's like the combination of all of this amazing stuff. But for you, you had this like dual life almost, right? Like you went to Oxford for motorsport engineering and at the same time you were at the top of cycling. Like, tell me how that happened. Tell me how you were able to do both of these things at such a high level and how that came about.
Such a crazy story, and there's so many different aspects to it. But in simple terms, I wanted to be an engineer. That's what I studied to be. I wanted to work in Formula One. I got there. I worked in for Mercedes AMG Petronas back in 2012, 2013 in the aero department, so designing wing mirrors and diffusers and all that kind of cool stuff. And I loved it, but they want your life. And I think you kind of accept that in Formula One. And there's people who, I mean, it was 24 hours a day in the wind tunnel, 365 days a year. Other than Christmas Day, actually, was a half day. That was the only day that it was a half day.
It's like that.
It was literally like that.
They don't stop developing.
If every other team's going to do it, you've got to do the same. It's a race to the bottom in that respect. And I discovered that probably I wanted my own life at the same time. And I was picking up cycling and progressing. I met a guy called Simon Smart, who also had come from Formula One. He was Jaguar Red Bull F1 back in the day. And then he'd moved into cycling, discovered this lovely niche of aero having an impact on the sport of cycling. And that was really interesting to me. I went back to university, I did my master's degree and managed to basically tweak a lot of my modules. Instead of being motorsport focus, was kind of cycle sports focus, like simulation, etc. Sure. And it just really was where I found my passion. I loved engineering and I loved cycling, and they just came together really harmoniously. So after that, I worked a little bit in GB Olympic sport, helping like British athletics, etc., but set my own business up that gave me an outlet for all the cool things I was developing for my own sport. So I was progressing as a cyclist, but also progressing as an engineer, and basically got carried away with a few friends in the simplest of terms, where we set up a track cycling team, went to the UCI World Cups, and started racing against Great Britain.
You did?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, you're like, yeah, I really want these like bikes to go faster. I want to do the engineering stuff. So I guess I'll do it myself and like win some championships.
Like it got more than a little bit out of control, it sounds like.
I felt like that. It was basically just a load of friends. There was 4 of us. I mean, it grow arms and legs, and I mean, we nearly signed Mark Cavendish, as random as that is.
Did not.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But,
No way.
we were so close. But basically, we all had our own sort of areas of interest. 2 of us are engineers, one's a psychologist, one's a sports scientist, and just basically wanted to have somewhere to action our knowledge. And it's really hard in elite sport. Like, even if you're incredibly knowledgeable, to break through to that elite level and to be able to use what you know to help people go faster. It can take years, if not decades, to get to that point. We're like, well, we should do it on ourselves. Let's set up our own team. So we did. And it was great because the sport of cycling is very conservative and everybody wants to do the same things they've always done, and take Team Pursuit as the event which we targeted on the velodrome. So 4 guys, 4 kilometres, get 3 guys over the line as quick as you can. It's stuck, or was stuck in history of like, you always do it this way. 1 lap turns, everyone does the same amount, your positions are this, your gear ratios are that. But it leaves opportunity on the table, and that was what the exciting bit was. So yeah, we rocked up and upset the apple cart, won some World Cups, won some, well, at that time it was national champs and World Cups, we couldn't do anything else, and British cycling weren't interested in, well, most of us really, to be honest.
Is that how the Danish thing came about?
Yeah, pretty much. So in 2019, I got a call from, I think it was the Times newspaper. Like, hi Dan, do you want to pass comment on this new UCI regulation? I was like, what new UCI regulation? Oh, they're banning trade teams from the World Cup. And I'm like, eh? Even I don't know this. Like, and literally overnight, bear in mind the UCI are effectively lobbied or they're partnered with national federations and not with trade teams. And I think we'd upset a few too many national federations.
Right, yeah.
And literally overnight, that was it. We're done. So coming into 2020, that was our last season, 2019-2020.
Do you think it was because of you?
There was also another trade team called B, a Dutch team. They were sprint focused, we were endurance focused, and we were upsetting them on relatively small budget. I mean, our budget for year 1 was £16,000 for everything.
Wow,
What?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was accommodation, equipment, training, travel.
No way.
I mean, the credit cards obviously took a bashing, but like, you make ends meet because you have to.
Yeah.
And it was
you
just
can find it from somewhere usually, I suppose, especially when sport's involved, isn't it?
Yeah, and then obviously it grows, and the year after we got loads of local support, and I mean we set up our own. I say set up. We created our own, I call it, nation, the People's Republic of Barbados, and we made our own flag.
What? You were troublemakers.
Oh yeah.
The establishment of road cycling is not going to like these upstarts, I can tell you.
But it was just a load of friends having fun, and yeah, things got carried away. We won some cool stuff, but yeah, the UCI stamped that out, and I wanted to stay within the sport of cycling. And the Danes were always a nation who I got on really well with when we were racing at the World Cup scene. They were really interesting and really open-minded, and I just approached them and said, well, look, my kind of door's been closed here. Can I come and help you guys into the Olympics?
No way.
Yeah, sure. And we went in as world champions, world record holders, and narrowly missed out in the gold medal final of the Team Pursuit. So they got the silver medal, which is very frustrating. And it was quite the sort of 48 hours because, I mean, we pushed the rules to the limit.
This is you as an engineer, right?
As an engineer, yeah, I'm constantly changing hats here.
But
so
before then, in your own team, you were racing.
I'll tell you, even during that, you set a time. It was a 3:50 on the 4 kilometer, like during practice, and that is like also this world-class time.
What?
So even
What,
like
from
during
the engineer?
Yeah, there's a funny story with that. So it was a couple of weeks before the Tokyo Olympics, and yeah, I had my engineering hat on, but I was also still riding, still like keen to compete, and I'd had a bit sort of one eye on the world hour record, but I'm sure we'll come on to that.
What is going on here? I'm struggling to understand how you were competing, in engineering and as an athlete at this level. It's mad.
It was fun to balance. It was a challenge, don't get me wrong, but I was all in. So within Denmark, they basically let me train in called the B squad. I was doing all the aero testing on the track. I was physically riding the bikes. And when you do Team Pursuit, you ride against another team. And they want to do like a full dress rehearsal before the Olympics, full equipment, full everything. So you've got the A team on one side of the track, and the B team was kind of under 23s and myself. And I really wanted to go sub 3 minutes 50, which at that time no Brit had ever done.
Ever?
No one. Nada. Not even. So the previous Olympics, Rio, was 350.2, which is like Bradley Wiggins, etc. All of those guys. They hadn't gone sub 350. And it's this massive marker that no Brit had done.
Wiggins, Boardman, Aubrey, they'd never done this.
No, not been done. And I just really wanted to, and it looked just about possible. And that morning, one of the guys, it was obviously COVID and the COVID kind of period. One of the guys who was on the B team was like, I'm really not well. I really can't come in. He pulled the pin and it kind of put paid to what I thought was this sub 350 plan. So we did it and did like a 51 or something in the B team riding against the A team who did like a 45 or 46. And then we come back for the evening session because you do 2 rides in a day. So you kind of full dress rehearsal. One of the A team guys phoned in ill, wasn't feeling good. And the coach, I'm prepping all the bikes, setting all the aero sensors up and things. He's like, Dan, would you mind riding in the A team? Like,
get the mechanic in some gear.
Didn't need to ask twice, mate. I'm in. And I rode I think it was a 347 or something like that. So like big margin under 350.
So crazy.
Completely unofficial, but I got the time-in sheet printed out. Everyone signed it. And for me, that was like the pinnacle of my career.
Sure.
I mean, it still feels like one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And obviously, it's not recognised in a record book or anything. But for me, it was like.
Are you still that strong now?
No, absolutely not. 1 year off the bike.
You haven't kept it up to that level.
Not to that level, no. I've
Man,
really
you were
gone all in.
strong though, which is so bizarre when you were actually there as an engineer. I can't believe you just got on a bike and joined the team. It's mad, isn't it?
And so is that how, was that the start of you saying okay, I want to set the hour record? Because even that, right, you are both an engineer and a rider, where you are helping Filippo Ganna, do what will hopefully be, break the record, but at the same time, you're right there. So how did that come about?
So if I really rewind back, in 2018, I British Cycling, just after we'd set up the track team, which was originally Team KGF, the Karen Green Foundation, and then became Who What Bike, British Cycling invited myself and Charlie to the World Champs in Appledorn. And the head coach sat me down, I can't remember if it was before or after the competition, he was like, look, Dan, you can be a rider or you can be an engineer. You can't be both. And I was like,
difficult.
Absolutely not. And simply, that was one of the biggest drivers for me for my entire career, and continues to kind of feel that way, to show that you can be both.
Sure.
And the reason I'm a rider is because I'm an engineer, and everyone's in the sport for different reasons. And some people love just riding to the cafe with their mates. Some people love the style of it. Some people love racing, descending quick. There's 1,000,001 different reasons. For me, as nerdy as it is, it's the application of engineering.
Yes.
And that's what I genuinely love. And I couldn't separate the two out. So I've just managed to somehow mangle together this career of being a rider and an engineer simultaneously for, I guess I managed it for about 7 or 8 years before, I finally pulled the pin and said, I'm just going to be an engineer now.
I totally relate to that, because I think that there's it's almost like like you said, there's a means to an end. I used to play music a lot, and I fell in love with recording, but then I would play music so that I could record. And it really is, it's so great when those two things come together. But the thing that I think is interesting about the hour record is all of the things that you try to optimize. And so, I don't know what to call it. I want to go through each one of these because it's crazy.
Just to catch up you did go for an hour record then?
In total now, including practice runs, I've probably done nearly 10. Got a bit carried away there. But they all became science experiments.
Well, it must be unbelievable for you, because you've got your own body, that your fitness, whatever. You've got the bike engineering, and even the velodrome is a massive factor, isn't it? You've got to find the world's fastest. Where is it at the moment?
Genuinely, it's actually probably in Bolivia or Colombia. There's a few options over there.
Because the altitude?
The altitude, yeah. And I still wish I'd gone over
wind
there.
resistance?
Yeah, the air density really reduces a lot.
But there's less for you to breathe in.
Exactly, so there's a nice trade-off there. But that means there's an optimal.
Here we go.
Yeah, the juices get flowing, and then spreadsheets come out.
Oh my goodness me.
Well, I think maybe that's an even better place to start, is I wanted to kind of know the ingredients of a performance on the hour record. You have the aerodynamics, so that's the air resistance that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. You have the bike, you have the rider. What are the components? Yeah.
So if you break cycling down in any discipline, and not just velodrome cycling with the hour record, there's two sides of a coin and one kind of overarching piece that you can work on. You can either put more energy in, push the pedals harder in simple terms, or harder and faster, or a combination of.
Yeah.
Or reduce your energy losses going out. They're the two ways to go faster. And then overarching on that is your execution. How do you deliver that power to optimize the speed over the entire event? And they're the only levers globally that you can pull. Obviously, when you start to dig into them, nutrition, training, physiology, temperature, atmospherics, and then the other side, aerodynamics, roll resistance, drivetrain efficiency, and then execution is pacing, discipline, positional discipline, line, all of those sides of things. And you start to distill it down.
I'm loving this.
But we literally built models to explain all of these, and the reason I did so many hour records was to generate the data to basically break the models to understand where they're flawed and how you can improve them, and therefore where do we continually move everything forward. So one of the biggest ones, and it was I mean, not that I'm going to say we broke into the National Velodrome, but we went into the National Velodrome and British Cycling perceived that we'd broken in there. However, we got it completely signed off and booked correctly during the COVID period. But we went in, we being myself and my wife, because she also had the world hour record as well.
Oh, wow.
What?
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was like a joint project.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no, it's crazy old life.
Mad.
So we both went in and did a full dress rehearsal with basically censoring everything: muscle EMG, core body temperature, all the aero data, heart rate, splits. Just basically do an hour record and see what happens. But what breaks? What falls apart? Does your positional fall apart? Does your line go? Is your core temp too high? Can your muscles not contract anymore? All those kind of different components. Figure out what doesn't work and why. I mean, for my wife, she just went and broke the world hour record in training, and it was easy.
Wow.
Whereas I did the opposite.
Why?
Yeah.
And it must be unbelievable for you to try and work out how much of that performance comes from you and how much of it comes from the science and everything you're like, as in the equipment and everything else you're talking about. But ultimately, you've got to have the legs to drive that bike, right?
You've got to push the pedals around. Yeah, you can't just float around easily. It's going to be hard.
I can't imagine how you've done all this engineering work and had time to get in shape to set it out. I just can't get my head around it.
Honestly, Teams calls on the trainer. I do like 3, 4, 5 hours on the. Basically, everything's TT position. So in the skis, pretty much all indoor. So yes, I lived in Andorra altitude, but unfortunately, the mountains weren't really my home in that respect. Indoor trainer, Teams calls, and do all my work there. WhatsApps, emails, the whole lot. Get work done while you're riding zone 2 in TT position.
And how long would you say 4 or 5 hours a time?
4 or 5 hours. Yeah. Quite common. Yeah.
What, daily?
That is like you're insane. Like
I agree. Does his day's work?
I get like 2 hours on a trainer, and I'm like, I am the strongest mental human being in the world.
I wasn't staring at a wall. I wasn't like going crazy. It is a mental challenge, but also so is the hour record, which is another component to it. Of again, doing it in training, that familiarity gives you the confidence to know what's possible. So about 2 months prior to the official world hour record attempt, we did a full dress rehearsal, a bit like I did with the Danes to the Team Pursuit, and broke it then in training. And we're like, okay, it's doable now.
Oh my
it's
goodness!
on.
Because like going back through history, it's like the hour record is one of the hardest. It's one of the most sought after records. Like from Moser, didn't it stand for years? And like we say, O'Brien, of course, with his it's one of the big cycling records. And here you are, just casually smashing it in training. I can't, it's mad.
I think it's steeped in history, absolutely.
Yeah, it is, and it's like it's not an easy thing to break, is it? People go all over the place searching and looking like you are.
Yeah, exactly. You spend a lot of time, money, and effort, and that was why I was brought in with the Filippo Ganna project, because he's a World Tour cyclist. He wants to race the Tour de France, the World Road Championships, etc. So he can't do all of this testing that it warrants and needs to be at that level. So basically, I do all the hard work. And I take my cycling hat off, I put my engineer's hat on and go, here you go.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic.
Can you talk about just the, there was a bunch of work that you did around body heat. So it's I don't know what else to call it, but like a hazmat suit. And then there was some stuff with like slush, like ice slush as well.
So that came from the practice run. When I fell apart, collapsed on my practice run about 40 minutes in, and somehow carried on riding for the next 20. We wrote a scientific paper actually on it, but at 40 minutes, my core temp was about 40 degrees Celsius. So you are hot, like very hot, and it's a ticking time bomb, basically. Once you get to that 39.5, there's not much longer you can really sustain that effort.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That will stifle your effort. You cannot put the power out past that temperature.
It gets really hard really quickly. Your body's just it's on red alert. I'm like, this is not healthy. You're going to kill yourself. Probably stop doing this pretty soon, please.
No way.
And you can dial it back over time and doing more heat training. There's the psychological component to it. But also,
they say Pogacar did, didn't they, for this year's tour? He was better in the heat than ever.
It was one thing. So Kevin Even, our data scientist in Red Bull, he pulled apart a few years ago. He's like, he's really bad in the heat. We need to target him in hot days.
No stone unturned.
Find their flaws and expose them.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So, but the physiological side is also a massive component. So, I won't really go into the nerdy side of it, but in effective terms, as you get hotter, to produce a given amount of watts takes more oxygen, and at some point you're pretty much at your VO2 max. You're riding at your limit. You cannot get more oxygen in, so if you get hotter, your power's going to go down. So how do you improve that? So step one, train in the heat. So training in the heat pushes your ability to sustain at the top temps for a lot longer. It also increases your blood plasma volume, so you have more capacity to stay cool because there's more water mass in there to absorb heat and thermal energy.
Water cooled.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also it increases your sweat rate, so your ability to sweat. So that was a big performance metric for us. How much can I sweat in 1 hour? And I got to about 2.5 kilos of sweat.
Way.
Yeah.
What?
2.5 kilos of sweat.
You did not.
Yeah, so my mass loss was huge over those 2 hours.
Wild.
But you think that's your
you
primary
take on
cooling
that
method.
much water?
Well, you can't. You can't drink at all. So that's the next thing. You're
You
starting.
don't drink in an hour record?
Nope. Don't move. Just in position the entire way.
Because even a reach down would be
You can't even have a bottle by regulation.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's literally go out there and do it.
Just ride for an hour, which it's sustained, it's doable, it's not enjoyable. You're not there to have fun, and but at the same time, performance. As long as you prepare properly, which was the other side of it, eating slush. So we had a really good scientist, a guy called Teun van Erp, who did so much research into this and came up with the physiological model, but also on the pre-cooling side, that if you eat ice slush, so literally just basically crushed ice cubes, you are doing a few things. One, you've got more thermal mass in there, like more liquid, but also it takes a lot of energy to turn ice to water, even at the same temperature. So if you get that ice in, your core temp goes down. So your core temp's lower when you start, so you have more headroom to heat up. So it was another one of how much ice can you eat. So I was about 1.5 kilos before the hour record. It's like an ice eating competition.
But
Come on.
That's so.
Are you joking?
There's been this. I've always heard this thing where it's like, oh, don't drink cold water before you go and race or do a hard effort, because you're wasting the energy. Your body's using the energy to heat it up and do all that stuff. And is that wrong?
The opposite's true. Yeah,
That's crazy.
That energy is going to go somewhere.
Way.
So you may as well. You want your core temp to stay low. You want your temperature to stay low in general. So increase capacity to sweat, increase capacity to absorb energy, and
Did you get ice cream headache eating that much ice?
Yes,
That is so bad, dude. I feel your pain on that. That must be the one factor that slows you down.
So I was the coldest I have ever been going into that hour record, and the internal temperature was 30 degrees in the velodrome. But I was in this air-conditioned room.
And you could feel your body.
I was freezing.
Were you really?
So even after I got off the bike, I'll bear in mind as well, our warm-up, we'd cut that down. Originally, your warm-up's maybe 40, 45 minutes, and we really worked on it to get it down to about 15 minutes, the bare minimum to be ready. Because again, warming up is literally warming you up.
Yeah, wasting that temperature.
Get out, hands in an ice bucket. So my hands are in an ice bucket. I'm freezing cold as is. I'm in this air-conditioned 12 degrees Celsius room, barely warmed up. I've eaten 1.5 kilos of ice, shivering away, knowing I'm about to go into this absolute hot spa of a velodrome. And you walk in and they give me a helmet. My helmet's been in the freezer as well for a few hours. You put that on, you're but they go and so I'm freezing cold.
What?
But ready to go at the same time. It's an odd dynamic, I've got to admit. But you're just playing with the laws of physics to really manipulate all those levers.
And do you think, what's the biggest factor, these or yourself, in this effort, in this hour record attempt? As in, is it your legs or is it all the stuff you've built in around it, this lowering your core temperature? Surely that's quite new. Has anyone ever done that before an hour
Probably
record?
not to that degree, or if not at all.
I heard they used to try and fill the tyres with helium and all sorts of
weird things.
There's loads of things going on, right?
But we all have finite resource. How much effort do you put into it, and where do you put that effort? So that was where the good models made sense of aero is 90% of our drag. We're going to spend a lot of time on aerodynamics, and then power in. How do you keep your power in at your absolute maximal? So my best ever 1 hour power is about 360, 365. And I was still doing 355 in those conditions on the velodrome in position at cooking degrees. So it's pretty close to my absolute best, even though in extreme conditions. So for me to go from, say, 365 to 375 could be years of training. And I was already relatively mature at that point. I was 30. Yeah, I was 30, I think. And I'm not going to make big headrooms, but what I can do is make sure I can achieve my best performance in the most extreme conditions, and that's easier to get to.
Yeah. You can control that a lot more, right?
Yeah, exactly. And make sure, and because you pick your own day, that's the scary thing. You pick everything about the hour record. It's all on you. So there's no excuses. It's not today I was a bit unwell, or today I didn't get given the right whatever. It's just a case of, no, I pick the day, I pick the conditions, I pick the equipment, I pick the pacing strategy. It's all on me. So you've nowhere to hide. If you don't break the record, it's...
You pace as well. I heard you say a pacing strategy. So it's not just as hard as you can go for an hour, or it's close, and it must be close.
No, the first half an hour was really easy.
What?
And it should be. Well,
Is that right?
Yeah, legitimately. So if you did a flat-paced effort, let's say you ride constant power, your first half an hour is pretty easy, and the second is going to be pretty grim. The last 5 minutes, you're seeing God knows what.
You ramp up.
Yeah, so for me, we actually did the opposite. We did a negative pacing strategy. So I was behind the record to about halfway, and my mum was losing her mind.
What sort of pace are you looking at here then? What is the speed?
So the record I rode was 55.548 kilometres, so 34 miles an hour.
Wow.
But I was 54 and a bit to halfway, if I remember correctly, 54 and a half, high 54s. So you've got to pick it up. And I did. I rode the back half at over 56k an hour. But it was, again, physiology. Like if you think, or mental, I guess, as well, if you're attacking a record rather than hanging on to a record, it's like you're pushing for it. You can find a bit more. Whereas if you're struggling those last 10 minutes and you're like, I just need to hang on, versus,
You can die, right?
You die off.
Yeah, it's done.
Whereas if you're like, if I keep pushing, I'm going to stick another 10 metres on, another 20 metres on, another 30 metres on.
Well, it's interesting too because your coach had this this idea to like not cheer for like what, the first 45 minutes?
45 minutes, yeah. Complete silence, complete focus. So no music, no cheering, no encouragement, just silence. Which sounds really counterintuitive, but for me, it was everything I wanted.
Because you can just zone in.
I could zone in on the effort. He can hear my breathing as well, which is another critical performance determinant we'd recognise. So when I lose control, I aren't able to do the record anymore. My position gets worse, my head starts rolling, my line gets worse, and my breathing gets out of control. So my big things were focus on my head position, focus on riding the black line, and focus on controlling my breathing. So he can see or hear all of those three things as long as everything is quiet. So we do 45 minutes, 50 minutes of just focus on that. Every time I ride past him, he gives me a lap split. I know for every 5-minute block what my target lap split is to the 10th of a second. And then every 5 minutes, he gives me an update relative to the record and know where I should be on that. So I'm doing maths as I go round. I know that sounds really nerdy, but that's how I get around these things.
That's actually unbelievable. No, that's right. So, the whole thing, like, you know roughly where you need to be and you're there and you know that you can improve in that last half. It's just amazing. But this approach, I mean, it did it, right?
Did it, yeah. I mean, it made it very scientific. I get that. And maybe people like purists within the sport probably weren't all that happy
But it is
about
the hour record. To me, it's always been about the science, isn't it? Like, what about, did you work a lot on position? Like, Aubrey, of course, he was banned on it, the Superman position.
And he did so many cool things.
And is it true that he only trained, like, he would go out and train no more than an hour ever, and if he didn't feel good in his legs, he'd turn around within a couple of minutes and go home? Or I don't know, he was a character. Did you ever meet him?
I did. I've met him once or twice.
Way,
yeah,
have you?
He's so cool. This was before the hour record. I'd love to meet him now and just like share experiences of it. But he experienced the most extreme, I guess, pushback from the establishment because he was doing, I guess, more extreme versions of what I've done, of push to the limit of the law or beyond, and find exactly where that line is drawn. But he'd be like the morning of his hour record, and they're like, we changed the rules today. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'll cut my saddle nose off. And then they're like, we changed the rules again. You can't do that. And he's like, find a kid's bike with a kid's saddle instead. And you're like having to problem solve on your feet.
Yeah.
And I've had experiences of that when regulations change at the drop of a hat, but never the day of the world hour record at the extreme.
Do you think that like the F1 experience was kind of like that? Like, is that kind of what you are doing in F1 is like, it's really just an optimization around like, here's the constraints. You try to optimize as close as you can.
Yes. And F1 really taught me a lot. And that was probably one of the key bits of, firstly, I guess, a proper engineering optimization process. But secondly, finding the limit of the law. So Formula One's great for this. Like, as you get a regulatory...
They're all over it, right?
They're all over it, yeah. You read it first to read what it does say, and then you read it again to figure out what it doesn't say.
Right.
And then you find out where you can take advantage of those things. And they have a great system for sending in basically letters to the FIA and say, we think this says that and that says this, so we can do this thing. And sometimes it's because you want to do it. And sometimes it's also you want to try and ban somebody else that you think is doing that.
Wow.
What? And they'll go, no, you can't do that.
Can't
And
do
you go,
that.
well, actually, we're not doing it. It's
them.
How it goes. I love it.
It's so cool. But
Nothing more political and more difficult, I'd imagine, competitive than F1, right?
exactly. But the thing is, they stand by it. And I think I really like that. The FIA, like, well done. You found a loophole. We'll close it in next year's regulation.
Is that right?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's so
sometimes
cool,
they'll do it really quickly.
It's engineering,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? It's part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's part of the lure and the attraction of
exactly.
motorsport.
If you take
Yeah.
that away, then
What is it anymore?
That's
And I guess
right.
cycling hasn't had that. But the problem with cycling is we have to accept that technology has a massive bearing on performance. You have this like human endeavour to technology spectrum. Like I think running and swimming is probably your purest kind of human endeavours, and then your Formula One is probably your most extreme. And cycling wants to believe it's a pure form. But when it comes down to it, technology has a massive bearing, and people can't accept where it really sits. And yes, we're not Formula One, but we should definitely consider going in that direction in some respects.
yeah, that's right, because the performance in F1 is really put down to the car, and the performance in cycling is pretty much put down to the athlete, but you come in with a fresh set of eyes. And
I think I can show for it.
It's working for it. Well, yeah, you set the hour record. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm sat here with someone who set the hour record. It's amazing. That's amazing.
He actually talks about the hour record
I love it.
all the time.
That's awesome.
It's one of the big things, though, isn't it? Like, it's amazing.
I love it.
I can't believe how casual you are about doing it. You know, it's just.
I guess it was a big part of my life for a
How
good
long
few
ago
years.
was it when you did it then?
So that was August 19th, 2022.
And have you still got the record? Has it been?
So
Who smoked it?
I lost it about 50 days later.
No way! Does
well,
it move on all
Ganna.
the time?
But on purpose.
On purpose.
Go on!
The story gets...
Oh no, I'm not ready for this.
So the whole project was framed that I do all the development to break the hour record. Ineos give me the support for it, and then Filippo Ganna goes for it pretty soon after. I mean, there was discussions originally of like one day, then the next day, but the way it worked out, he had a few other plans, and he came on October the 9th, the day after my wedding, of all days to pick.
What?
Yeah, so I get married on October the 8th, and then the following day I'm flying out to Paris to the World Track Cycling Championships, and he is beginning the world hour record that I basically engineered for him. So he's got my bike, same helmet, same clothing,
Same ice.
same ice. Actually, I mean, he ate a bit more. He was like 2 kilos.
No.
He was mad for it.
Did he?
He could eat ice.
What did he say when you were like, all right, Filippo, what you're going to do is eat 2 kilos of ice?
I think most people were like, eh?
Here's breakfast.
Yeah. Some of it just comes down to explain the science,
yeah.
show what the testing you've done. Because it wasn't just winging it. We'd done full
Totally.
practice runs. And once you see the science, it's really clear. And people are like, yeah, makes sense. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And you try it a few times. And yeah, it's not the most pleasant of experiences. But if it makes
Right.
you go farther, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Blimey.
So yeah, a few months, less than 2 months later, I get married. Day after, Filippo's in Switzerland. I take off in the plane and watching it live. About 2 minutes in, and because of my pace strategy, he went out a little bit slow and he was a little bit behind for the first few minutes. I'm like, I'm still an hour record holder. And the flight's but I land and I'm like, kind of what Schrodinger's hour record holder. But I'm
Yes,
simultaneously
yeah.
am and not until I look. And then obviously I look and he stuck 1.2k into me.
Oh, wow.
So he's pretty special. He was about 100 watts more than me,
Wow.
give or take. So pretty massive delta.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he
that
is
is a substantial amount of watts, isn't it?
he's a generational talent, and
Yeah.
but clearly I'm not. I polish myself up pretty well.
talented. You held the hour record. Just want to reiterate that one more time. Like, you know. That's mad. I can't believe it. And he's still got the record now, has he?
He has,
So it's
yeah.
your technology that's still got the record.
I'd love to. To be honest, I was keen to have a go after the Olympics.
Of course you are.
And I was keen to get my wife to have a go actually because she lost it. We were so close to simultaneously holding it together, and she
sure.
lost it about, I think it was 4 weeks before I
No
got mine.
way. Wow.
Would have been one of those like question of sport things.
Yeah,
Like who are the couples?
yeah.
Yeah, but we have like matching bells. So they give you a bell that's literally rung on the last lap that's cast with your name in,
That's
the velodrome
so
and
sick.
everything.
That's
It's
amazing.
really- so it was there on our wedding day actually. We both rang
Oh,
our
that's
record
so
bells.
good.
That is unbelievable.
There are a few people I think still in the pro peloton that could give it a good nudge, and it can be beaten. And people think it's superhuman what was done, but I look at it and I'm like, well, we left performance here and we left performance there,
Sure.
and there's definitely things you can do better now.
I think it was the line, the first half hour's easy, that kind of got me. Of the hour record. I'm not sure that's supposed to
comes
be.
for free.
That's right. Yeah, mad.
So what do you feel like if we do dive into kind of cycling technology, like where are we now? Like what has been the biggest changes up until now, and like is there a lot more room?
We're a long way from optimal. It's probably the best way to describe it, which is exciting also on the other side.
Yeah.
Like the fun I find is in unearthing those new gems.
Yeah.
I say new. Nothing's ever new.
No.
Most people have always done it somewhere else and lost to the sands of history. And like Abri was a good example. There's lots of little details that I won't go into about his setup that I find very interesting that I'm trying to bring back round.
Sure.
But mostly it's taking inspiration from other sports is where we seem to find progress. I mean, we spoke earlier of mountain biking, and I love mountain biking just for the fact that, well, I guess firstly UCI-wise, they let you do what you want, pretty much. And we've seen that. Some of the bikes that rock up at downhill mountain bikes, they're barely bikes, which is just like... I love it.
Yeah.
And it shows how engineers are thinking, and when they have like a blank sheet of paper, and annoyingly within the world of road cycling, we have boxes and limits and sizes that we have to fit within, and there's also things like prototype exemptions and basically showing the UCI everything you want to do before you go and do it.
Yeah.
And often they'll give you a bit of pushback, and that's not quite so enjoyable. But by taking inspiration from those other areas, we tend to move forward. And you look at the road cycling, tubeless, mountain biking, disc brakes, mountain biking.
Right,
and there's a lot of things that continually come through. I mean, even like the data acquisition systems that you guys run for, it's predominantly more in the training side of things to set your bike up.
Yeah.
That's light years ahead of where we are, and it's where I want to go to. But you're just, again, leading the way.
But where will you find performance in a incredibly lightweight, carbon fibered framed, the most efficient bicycle that's ever been made, the road bike? Like, look at it. It's like, how are you going to improve it? Like, yeah, downhill bikes, they got travel, they got suspension, we got tyre. You know, surely it is just down to the rider. Why isn't it?
Why isn't it? That's a good question. And it kind of goes back to my original discussion point of you have energy in, energy out, and execution. And my job largely isn't on the energy in. Like, I'm not day-to-day working on training, nutrition, etc. A little bit of involvement, but mostly it's on the energy outside and the execution side. And really, now it's coming down to how do we optimize every rider for their role, for the course, for the conditions, for that exact strategy that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Then even like, how do we get to that strategy? So there's loads on machine learning algorithms. So people use AI globally, but it's machine learning is what we're doing. How do we predict what's going to happen in a race? So then what is the optimal setup for this rider to do the optimal strategy for those conditions on that course against whoever we're racing against?
That's so
So what
cool.
tyre size, what tyre pressures, what gearing choice.
What
wheel
tyre
combination.
size?
Yeah, we have
So
a broad
what-
range.
On the
What
road?
would be, what would be an example of what you would want to optimize for a specific role? Like, is this person's bike? What would you change? Like, what is? Give me an example.
Okay, really, really good example. So we raced up Ventoux last week in Tour de France.
Sorry, just ought to mention this point. One of us. Have you ridden that one, Ventoux?
I've not actually.
One of us has ridden that one, Ventoux, in this room. That's all. Carry on.
Do you have the record?
2 hours 33.
Hey, you made it up.
I did make it up. It was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever done.
That's
I
what
loved
the
it.
other two of us can say.
You've done the arrow, so
I don't
back
know.
off.
I don't know if aerodynamics were playing too big of a role. In that.
With the stem flipped the wrong way and me bolt upright like a sail. Didn't matter with the pace I was going.
So if you break that course down, it was pretty much pan flat, give or take, to the bottom of the climb. Then the climbers race up there. But you've got a full team and maybe only one or two guys are going to race full gas up the climb. And even when they go up there, they're doing 20, 25k an hour. So
Cool.
aero's relatively negligible. I mean,
Is
we
it?
can still predict.
What is there a speed where it actually it kicks in?
I mean, it's always there.
It's always
You're
there.
always there. The tipping point depends on what you're comparing. So if you have, let's say, a climbing bike and an aero bike, there's a mass difference, there's an aero difference. And the actual equation for the velocity is the square root of 2 times mass times gravity times sine theta divided by CDA times air density. And that'll tell
Give me
you
that again afterwards. Pen wasn't ready. My God, what is that again?
So that will tell you the speed at which the mass becomes more important than the aero for the values that you put in.
Is that right?
Yeah. You can mathematically model anything if you're really keen enough. But just those kind of equations, we use them just for like quick deciding of is it this or is it that. But we've gone down the path more on software development. So we have a massive project with Red Bull Advanced Technologies, the applied side of the Formula 1 team. And they're developing all of our simulation tools. So how do we predict performance? Predominantly in time trials, soon to come down the road racing side. But it means you can assess those. Should use gear ratios that are different for a rider who's going to ride to the bottom of the climb, full gas, versus going up a climb at 20k an hour, or what tyre pressure, what gear ratio choice, or
Crank length.
There's so many things you can throw into it. Once you build your models out, basically you're just throwing them into a big MATLAB script or Python script, press go and get an output, and it just says, this is your fastest setup. Go and do it.
Honestly,
Yeah.
just throw everything in there and it'll be like, run these tyres, this gear in, la la la, done.
Yep.
That
No,
is wild.
why? What?
Wait, so there's a couple things that I'm like want to myth bust for myself. Like one is tire pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that, because like I think in the past it was like highest tire pressure ever, and then it was like all of this stuff where it's like no, you want a low tire pressure because what of the impact, like
My road wheels have got a limit of 80 psi on, and I haven't had a road bike for 10, 15 years, but I always remember back in the day, because they're carbon, I guess, but I'd run 120 psi. But Pogacar runs the same wheel, so is he running 80 psi? Is that enough? What's the deal with that?
What's the deal?
That feels soft on the road, or sounds it.
It depends. It's the long and short, and there's not a simple answer. Tire dynamics are really complex, and that's actually where I spend a lot of time now, not so much on the aero side. We have good understanding of aero and we are moving forward there, but tyres are like this complex, lovely black thing that is quite good fun from an engineer's perspective to unpick, because if you think about a tyre, I mean, firstly, it cuts through the air, so aerodynamics are a big
I was going
component.
to say, do you actually look at the air of the
Yeah.
tyre? Of course you do.
Oh, it's so important. Tyre aerodynamics. So all the tread
not the
pattern,
profile of it?
Yeah, the profile of the tyre, the
Come
width of the tyre,
on.
the interaction with the rim. Oh, there's so much around tyre aero. It's a fun little area. But that's point one. You've then got grip, which again, not many people really consider. I mean, it's really hard to measure as well to understand.
Slow you, too much grip potentially is slowing or not?
Well, what's the interaction between grip and rolling resistance?
Yeah.
But then rolling resistance has two components to it, which is where we talk about looking at lower pressures now. So you have what we call hysteric loss. So that's where pumping a tyre really high reduces your hysteric loss. You basically, it's hysteresis. So as you deform a tyre and it reforms, you lose a little bit of energy.
Oh,
So if you put higher pressure, it deforms slightly less, so you lose slightly less energy.
And you would have a slightly less of a contact patch, you'd
Yep.
imagine.
Yep, your contact patch, so force divided by pressure gives you contact patch area. So if your pressure goes up for a given force, your contact patch area reduces.
Yeah.
But then the other component that not many people talk about, not many people think about, you can call it different things, but effectively suspension losses or damping losses. So as you go on a rougher surface, you're inputting a vibration. Well, that's getting transmitted to the rider and absorbed by the rider, and that's a loss.
This was
And that
why a
goes the opposite
softer
way.
tyre might be better.
Yeah, because you're trading off all of those things. You
Sure.
grip, rolling resistance, and damping. And where does your optimal lie? Well, it depends on your tyre pressure, your tyre size, your rider, your course surface. Are you trying to race down a descent, or are you just trying to race up a hill?
Right.
And all of these things, again, comes back to having good models and then
Yeah.
good simulation, and then you get the answer out the other end.
Yeah, and so it's like, yeah, if it's like a completely flat stage, that should be one tire pressure. If it's all uphill, that should be another, and if it's downhill, like that should
Is that how it
also
is?
be
Yeah.
another.
Yeah, that's where we're heading towards, yeah. And again, motorsport's ahead. Wow,
Yeah.
so far ahead, which is
Yeah.
where it's great to take inspiration from them.
Mm.
And it must be the same in mountain biking, the way you think about these things of what is the optimal for this exact course, how I'm going to ride it, what suspension system settings, all of that side of things.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting in downhill. One of the things that I always think is really difficult, and it's not like a straight crossover from motorsports, is the track is like much more dynamic than, especially
that's
like
a really true thing.
you know,
yeah.
because like you could do one run and then come back and the track is completely different. So you I think that's been one of the things that's hard about the data is if you try to like tune to the data, there's like all of this other kind of unexplained variables that it's really difficult to model. But I think people are getting a lot better at it, like trying to tease out what is it, doing some stuff with like rider body position to know like, okay, let's get rid of that because you were in the same spot, or like I can at least tell where you were. But yeah, we're totally we're going that way, but it's been feel in the past. It's like, how do you feel and like what are you more comfortable with so that you can push?
I think I try to separate out what you feel and from speed, because they aren't necessarily correlated sometimes. So like you were saying, it feels like a low tire pressure is soft. Well, it is soft. But does that mean it's slow?
No, well, in mountain biking it doesn't, because the tyre doesn't bump up over things, it deforms and it's quicker, right? So they went down on tyre, like you can't believe sub 20 PSI in cross-country races tyres. I couldn't believe it, but that's how it's faster. They've done the testing.
Yeah, that's the complexity of different suspension systems as well. So I've really gone down this rabbit hole, and your tyre really deals with so much because the mass is so great. To move your entire suspension system, you have to move your wheel, your tyre, half your fork, or the same on the back end. So therefore, the response is quite low. So it can't deal with those really like small, high-frequency things. So your tyre has to do that.
Yeah.
But then how do you optimise your tyre to do it? It's such a complex, interesting problem.
Bounce, and there's so much to it.
But again, mountain biking's ahead. So I have lots of good conversations with mountain bike engineers, and especially within like Specialized. They've got some really good guys there.
Well, they're ahead on the mountain
I was going
biking.
to say, who's like leading the charge in the mountain bike space?
So there's a great guy, Marcel Kaiser. So he used to be vertical dynamics engineer at Toro Rosso, obviously within the Red Bull family.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he moved over to Specialized, I think a few years back.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And honestly, he's a great nerd. Yeah. Like, put him on a high level of nerd.
He's a high-end
nerd. But just really good conversations, like mental sparring, because none of us truly understand like the limits of where we're trying to get to, but you kind of have a discussion. I think this, I think that, and maybe it's a bit
mad
of this, but
chatter.
I probably love it.
I'd like to sit and listen to that. It'd be a good chat. But
Oh, that's so cool. So one of the things that I think there's been a lot of conversation around recently is crank length, and that's been another one where intuitively you're like, well, I want a longer crank length because like the more leverage I have, like the faster I can go. But I guess explain the the difference and I guess the interaction between the aerodynamics and then the power output?
Yeah, there's some good science coming out on this now, which is enjoyable to see. It's that where that physiology starts to blend into engineering, and then you've got engineers coming from one side, physiologists coming from the other, and you kind of meet in the middle. So the way we tend to optimize now and really work in the direction of is measuring oxygen costs to amount of power coming out. So if you change a crank arm length or a saddle height or a handlebar height, whatever you want, change something biomechanically and measure how much oxygen it takes to produce that amount of energy and make a change. So it becomes a science experiment on a human.
Crazy.
Yeah, but with crank arm lengths, I think historically people think longer equals more leverage, but you're having to move your leg and your foot over that greater distance.
Yeah.
So the science tends to show that if you move around, your cadence will change accordingly. So if you go shorter, your cadence will naturally go up. And what's happening is mostly you keep your foot speed about the same. So
despite the cadence
I
then.
see.
Yeah, so there's an optimal between cadence and foot speed. So this is a guy called Jim Martin, an American researcher. He's been researching on this for like 20 or 30 years now. Really nerdy guy. But he basically showed it seems to be the cross product of cadence and foot speed that is self-selected. So you have like an optimal cadence times foot speed.
I see.
And then as you change crank arm length, that will move around. But largely, it doesn't seem to affect power production. It's most within the realms of what we might
I read
run.
somewhere, because I got some really short e-bike cranks, and I was like, well, these ain't even on an e-bike, they're going to suck. I'm not going to be able to pedal. They 155. And then someone was like, no, they don't make much difference. Someone did a test. And then I read about it, and it was something like between 155 and 175 over this load of different tests. There was less than a wattage difference in the output, right?
It's immeasurably different.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Immeasurably different.
You cannot figure out the there are trends. And especially when you go to the extremes. So Jim's gone down to like 110s and up to like 240.
Wow.
So he's like, if you study the extremes and you can barely see a difference, but they do, a slight difference at the
You
extremes.
mean even at 240 and 110, there's barely a difference?
Barely different.
To over a one standard 170?
Pretty much, yeah.
What?
Obviously, you change a lot of things with your biomechanics. And the other things then are, well, what about injury prevention? What about aerodynamics?
Is the aerodynamic actually a thing when it comes to
Absolutely.
crank? What, 5...
Back to the hour record.
Yeah, okay,
Back to the hour record.
I accept it.
So,
But that's mad to think that a 5 mil on a knee movement is going to make any difference.
So for my hour record, I rode 170. And then after that, into the Olympics, I rode 160. So I changed over. And the reason I changed was aerodynamics. So if I'd run 160 for the hour record, I would have gone 300 metres further.
Not the 1.2k you needed, but you'd have been close.
Going there. Small steps.
Right, is that right?
300 metres alone, just in nothing else changing, just not saddle height, not stack height, just change crank arm length, would have got me 300 metres.
That's
It's about 6
wild.
watts in drag reduction at that speed.
That is
What?
insane.
Yeah.
So
What? That is mad talk.
So it's just another thing to play with.
Yeah.
And I think people historically like, no, you can't touch crank arm length.
Because Pogacar's on 160 or something?
165, I think.
165.
Yeah, and we
which
had-
is like, everyone's like, but
Yeah,
he's still
Jonas
winning.
Vingegaard went to 150s. He's gone back to 160s now.
150?
150, yeah.
Wow.
well, I guess one of the things that like people talk about with you is that CDA. It's the coefficient.
Of drag times frontal area.
And so
Say that again.
CDA, coefficient of drag times frontal area. So it defines how aerodynamic you are as a rider.
So there's
Yeah.
like, do you guys have stats on like all of the riders? Like this is his CDA, this is his.
Yeah, of course he does. Of course he does.
A lovely big database of it, yeah.
And so because I think in cycling, especially in downhill, like we haven't found the optimal body type. I don't think. It kind of like goes back and forth over
Depends
the years.
who's winning.
Yeah, right.
Jackson
Like,
Goldstein, you
yeah,
got to
like
be,
now it's like-
65 kilos or...
yeah, you can always make the argument for like either or, but like this
Can.
is a situation where it's like becoming more of a genetic thing. Like, okay, you have a low CDA. So why is yours so small? Like, what is it? Like, is it the shoulders being thin? Like,
I've actually had a lot of discussions on this, and I think it's probably two major factors, maybe actually three. I'll go with. So I have really short legs for my height. I'm actually 6 foot, 183, and everyone thinks I'm shorter than I am, mostly because they look at my bike and have a low saddle height.
yeah,
So your legs are a massive component of your aero drag. If you look at somebody front on, their legs are massive, whereas their torso's mostly rotated. So if you can reduce your frontal area of your legs alone, that's massive.
So it's an advantage to have short legs.
For aerodynamics,
Yeah.
maybe not for power. And this is a
but for
trade-off.
aerodynamics.
For aerodynamics, short legs. That was one.
I'm thinking of you like body horizontal and then two little
Turn
pins
into
out the
wings.
bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I push my saddle height really low. Like any bike fitter would be like, that's way too low. But
To be efficient to pedal, but for aero.
For aero. And your physiology will adapt to your stimulus, whereas your aero won't. So if I find a few watts in aerodynamics, but train a bit, and that maybe I don't lose power, maybe I lose a bit, but maybe I'm in a better situation.
Sure.
So I was always pushing to get the most aero and then train to come back to where I was.
You're right.
So then the next one is neck flexibility. So I have quite a long but very flexible neck. And I know that sounds a really stupid thing, but it's very good on the track because you can get your head within the frontal profile of your entire body. So thank you, Mum. Thank you, Dad, for giving me this lovely neck.
Genetics are coming into a force now.
They really are.
Oh, my goodness.
And the third one, which didn't help my rugby career as a teenager, but I have very flexible shoulders and I've dislocated them a lot. I've had one stabilised, but it means I can get really, really narrow as well. So you get very narrow rolled shoulders.
Do you pull them in then when you're pedaling?
Oh, yeah. You're basically riding completely head down on the velodrome. You're not looking where you're going. You're
You're just looking at the black line.
Mostly peripheral vision, actually. So you know where you are, and it's about 15 and a half, 16 seconds a lap. So you kind of just like straight, corner, straight, corner, straight, and you get in a
that's
rhythm.
crazy.
It's 200 and something laps. You just...
Like, do you think you could ride a velodrome with your eyes closed?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Wow,
Would you
that's
really?
crazy.
I think you give it a go.
Yeah.
Probably not the safest thing to do, but...
If there's an aerodynamic advantage in a mask, I think we're going to see UCR on the phone. We're going to have to ban that.
It's not safe, that's for sure.
You got a point. You got
Do
a
not
point
try
on
this at
one.
home.
Just by eye, like, I know you'd probably have to like do some testing, but there's like a tuck position on a downhill mountain bike, and so like people a lot of the times have their arms out. You know, it's like they'll lower their head and you have their arms out. But I've always wondered, like, if it's better to go like arms in, you know, like, because
Bring the elbows in.
it's always it's like a plane, you know. I think intuitively like as a rider, you're like, oh, if I can be like a plane and you know have like this position,
Wings.
yeah, wings. But then
Yeah, I think I'm on your side there. So if you look at your body, you can model it mostly as a load of cylinders, and cylinders are really bad aerodynamically. So like your arms are a cylinder, your legs are a cylinder, your torso is kind of a big cylinder. Cylinders are one of the worst shapes you can have.
Are they?
Yeah, really, really bad. Which is why we spend so much time on clothing. It's has such a bearing of optimising.
But you're not allowed to adapt your shape with clothing. That must be a rule, right?
That's also a rule. So yeah, but it's also not clearly defined. Like, what is
Here we
adapting your
go.
shape? Where do you draw the line?
Here we go.
How close does it have to sit under your armpit, for argument's sake?
right,
Because it's never going to
sure.
sit on every inch of your skin.
Yeah,
There's always going to be little bits so it sits proud.
And you're into those.
wow.
You're into that.
Yeah, you've got to play in the grey areas.
Watch this. You got to watch this, dude. That's right, though, isn't it? That's mad.
I have to ask about the cotton socks. I want to come back to the downhill thing, but there's cotton socks.
Are we on about Primos last week?
Oh no! I just
What's
heard
that
you
with
talk
Primoz?
about
What happened there then? What's the
What
sock
happened
story
with
from the
Primoz?
tour?
The sock story from the tour. Oh man.
We need this.
I was in the wind tunnel that day and my phone just started blowing up. I'm like, why am I getting loads of messages from journalists? Like, Dan, are you free for a call? I'm like, no, I'm not free for a call. And then I go on Instagram and it's like, why is Primoz Roglic like being a triathlete today and went out with ankle socks on one of the Queen, it wasn't the Queen stage, one of the big mountainous stages. I'm like, oh my, no, that's not me. This is Dan's idea. And I'm like, no, never bet against Aero. He should be wearing Aero socks.
So what are Aero socks? Like, do you want no
Why
socks?
did he wear little socks like that then?
I think he thought it'd be cooler, as in temperature.
Oh, is that
So
what it was?
there's an argument to be had for it. I just don't think it stands up to the science. But Primoz is his own man. He can make his own decisions.
He can wear his own socks.
Yeah. As long as they're specialised. Sponsor approved. Yeah. So Aero socks. So your legs, like we said, big frontal area. And usually I let you have, I think it's up to halfway between basically your ankle and your knee. You can cover with a sock. And you can have a massive impact, like huge impact on performance. So if we take the hour record again as an example, because it's a really nice one. If I didn't use socks, I would have gone about 1 kilometre less far.
Come on.
Yes.
That's actually a fact that you know is... How can a pair of socks lose you a kilometre?
Nearly a kilometre, yeah. It'd be slightly under, but you're about that.
What, the aerodynamics
Of your leg is so important because it's just in free stream flow. There's nothing ahead of it, and they're a terrible aerodynamic cylinder shape, so you can optimise them incredibly well. So if suddenly you've got like a really nasty separated wake there, it's pretty horrific. Yeah.
Is that you're using the sock to shape your leg a little bit, or
So
is it
to change the boundary layer flow. So when you look into aerodynamics, the most important area is what we call the boundary layer. So it's a thin, mostly about a few millimetres on a cyclist, layer of airflow over. And in our speed range, we're in this annoying, I say annoying, but actually quite nice area where you go from what we call laminar to turbulent, and we're somewhere in the middle. So when it's laminar, air flows very smoothly but builds a thick boundary layer up. But as soon as it gets to what we call an adverse pressure gradient, so a curve going away, like the back of a leg or the back of your back, basically the air can't stay attached. There's no energy in the boundary layer, so it just separates off, and you end up with this nasty wake, basically slowing you down, dragging you backwards.
Why? Because you've got disrupted air behind you that doesn't flow through the air around it.
Low pressure, pressure times area, and it's literally just pulling you back. So if you can basically encourage the flow to stay attached for longer, that low pressure wake, that area behind, that volume
smaller.
reduces. So what we're doing is basically picking the right fabrics and seams to encourage the boundary layer to turn turbulent at the speed you're riding at for your body shape. So you turn just the right amount of turbulence, not too much, not too little, Goldilocks kind of level, hence why we're tuning it and optimizing it. And that will keep the flow attached for a significant amount further and reduce your aerodynamic drag by, basically like 3, 4, 5%.
Wow.
And what does that equate to in an hour record?
Yeah,
That's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's massive, absolutely huge.
Yeah.
That is, and now you've explained it, I totally see it.
Of
and when
course.
but when you're talking about a pair of socks before, I didn't, I must admit, but
And I
when
mean,
you put it like that, it's like, that's a huge percentage.
everything. And we look at like TT positions now, we're refining and refining and refining, and it's just smaller and smaller details. We're not doing, like you were saying, like super wide position to super narrow, because that's night and day. Whereas now it's like 10 mil here, 10 mil there, and we're reaching positional optimum limits, I would say. But then we can continue to push other things. Can we play about with a lot of like weight generation around the extensions, the base bar, like what can we generate at the front that will benefit your weight downstream?
We see winglets and stuff like pumping air around riders. Is that all going to be allowed then? Because you could bring all that in from F1, couldn't you?
Yeah,
we're
starting to go there. Yeah. Whether you say I like it or not is the other question, but yeah.
But you're going to start pushing it.
You have to.
Yeah, of
if you
course.
don't, someone else will, and
Yeah.
you want to be ahead. Yeah, so you've got to research it and I think the key bit is the understanding, which kind of goes back to like my role versus say Johnny, who works with me. That I'm really trying to push forward the knowledge, the understanding, the generation of the technology, the software, etc. And I kind of pass that into Johnny's brain, and Johnny goes on race and activates on it. So he then uses the tools, uses that knowledge to make sure we have the right setup, the right pacing strategies, etc. But yeah, I'm really interested by that understanding piece of knowing something that maybe nobody else knows, and how can I use that to win more bike races.
Dan, can you tell us about the Red Bull BORA hansgrohe team?
Sure. So my role was new last year, and the whole department was new last year, so they never had an engineering department before. So it's pretty cool to be able to come and set up.
That's quite mad, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, and compared to other teams, because other teams have. I mean, I came from Ineos, and I was in the engineering department there, and now you kind of build it from scratch, which is pretty cool.
Right.
So there's 4 of us in the department now. So Johnny, Kevin, Gerd. And basically, our role is to use engineering to win more bike races in the most simplest of terms.
So cool.
But yeah, it's quite broad, and the way Red Bull have come into the team are basically like, we want to win long term and not just win now. So there's things we can and we do now to bring quick wins, easy performance. But I try and move away from that on-race performance as much as I can and stay more in the performance development, capability development. How do we actually be better next year and be better in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time? How are we constantly at the limit? And so much of that comes down to just understanding. If you don't understand the physics, you can't move forward.
Right.
You can test A versus B, and you might know that A is faster than B. Do you know why A is faster than B? Because as soon as you know that, you can make something that's faster than that and continually move forward.
Yeah, I get it. The science is, you can actually put, everything can be kind of written on paper, can't it? Like, and you'll know if it'll work or not. Or is that right?
If you're keen enough, you can basically model anything. It's just a question of money, resource, etc. And that's where they do, again, Formula One. It's a great example, and it's somewhere I take a lot of inspiration, because they are 10, 20, 30 years ahead of us in what they do. But they've had they've tackled the same problems, and life's an open book test. If someone else has tackled them, go and ask them how they did it.
Right, yeah.
And we do exactly that. Just take those ideas, take those concepts, and try and do it. And obviously, they're an extreme. I get it. They're huge. They've got a lot of resource. They're trying to win the most technologically advanced races in the world.
Yeah.
But there's still so much that can be learned from that. And again, same with mountain biking. You're tackling a very similar problem. Okay, slightly different dynamics, but actually what you're trying to improve is what we forget or ignore a lot of the time, that sort of bike handling, confidence under braking, cornering.
But I would say, listening to you and the margins you're talking about, when you talk about downhill mountain biking and obviously high speed, all wind, like the aero's got to be taken care of. They haven't even started yet, right? In your opinion, really?
I think we're well ahead on aero, and you're well ahead on bike dynamics.
Yeah, but the aero's got to come.
Yeah.
It needs to.
Could be worth a lot of time on a downhill ride.
What's it normally won by? Tenths of a second?
Yeah, there can be 20 in like 3 seconds now. You know.
Well, there was 15 in 1 second the other day.
There you go. They've made the tracks. The sport's got faster. The tracks are much straighter.
Over a couple of minutes or so.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Aero's massive.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I didn't realise
Really?
that until after this, but. Yeah,
that was.
Bruni will be on the phone to you.
Yeah,
Get in contact.
Maybe he already is. Just from what you've seen in downhill mountain biking, you like look at the bikes and the kits and things like that. Like, how much time is there to be made? It's like what? It's like 35k average speed.
35? It's not faster than that.
Well, someone told me the average in Leogang was 47, but I don't think that's true. But
that's a little bit too fast.
Yeah, I don't think
but
that was
you're not
right.
constant, are you? You're down at like 15, 20, and then you're
at
at
walking speed in a couple of turns, and then
70k
70k on another straight.
35 to 40,
That's
I would say.
a challenging problem for optimization. So to go back to like the clothing optimization thing, we try to really refine around a certain speed range, which we can never be 100% sure of. If you do a time trial, you might be at 40, you might be at 60, but it's probably a bit tighter than your 10 to 70 range. But there is a lot there, like seconds, I would say.
I agree. Do you know what? We used to race in Lycra the same as road cyclists do, right? Back in my era. Then it changed and everyone started wearing motocross kit because it was cooler.
Yeah.
You know, but the team I was riding for then were like, you can practice in your baggy gear, giant, but you need to put your Lycra back on for finals because we know it's quicker. Like, you got to. There's no argument with that. And you would miss braking points. Like, you'd go into a corner, like you were going so much quicker in a skin suit that you hadn't worn all week that you'd cock those finals runs up because you'd brake too late. You know, you were going so much quicker.
You've got to train as you would race. And I think,
But like the difference in the clothing, you know, and now the skin suits, they're calling them speed suits, but they are back a little bit. But
they're still a bit baggy, but not
they are.
entirely.
Yeah, they are.
But is that by regulation? There is some
I'm not
loose
quite
rules.
sure.
So
No, it moves. It might be.
There was for a bit, there was a pinch test.
Yeah, that's right. The science of that.
Subjectivity, Pete.
And so now the regulation is it just has to be 2 pieces. And so they just put on like, you know,
is that what it is?
And then it's like a suspender thing that you put over the top.
That is wide open. So, do you guys race with power meters? I'm sorry, I'm getting really into this.
Not in Mount Downhill, they would
A couple
never.
people have.
They might reference so they know where they're at, but I don't think they race with them.
So I was going to say, the reason being is if you've got power data, which I imagine you're probably not putting loads of energy in, most of it's coming from gravity, right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of
But
gravitational
there are parts of the track where a downhill athlete will sprint and they will put out insane wattage. Like, you know, you can imagine they're a sprinter. That's what they are.
Which is their purpose. But if you take that, you can model this really easily. You look at where's energy going to, and then you can figure out, well, I if I was a betting man, I would say probably over 50% of your energy goes into aero drag on that entire course.
50%
off the top. I mean, if you give me a Garmin file off Strava, I'll probably get a really good estimate really quickly. And then you're like, well, okay, you can maybe only improve it a few percent, arguably. Maybe you can improve it a lot, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in clothing, considering that's probably 70, 80% of your drag of the entire system, there's a lot to be found there.
There is.
Crazy.
Yeah, there is. There's masses, that's right.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of people, like there was a big push and tracks used to be a little bit different to where you were pedaling a lot. And so people started to think about power. And then it's kind of gone the other way because like now it's like, oh, you know, power you're not pedaling a lot and like maybe it doesn't make that big of a difference. And I think over the years too, you've had like riders win with no chain and stuff like that. And that kind of pushes the exact thing that you were talking about where it's like, this is kind of the thing that really matters. But it is like so interesting that you kind of don't think about it. You know, it's kind of just, it's not something you practice. Like you're not, you know, as a downhill rider, you like maybe you're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna tuck or whatever, you know. But like sometimes your head's here, sometimes it's like that, like this arm's here, or whatever.
Peaks.
You know,
we run massive peaks off our helmets. You know, I mean,
that scares me. Get rid of that.
Well,
are you allowed to? That's probably another one.
You're not allowed to take it off.
No, but then they did take them off. Then they were like, you can't take them off, so people had short ones manufactured and stuff. You know, this mountain bike downhill, considering now we've spoken to you, you realising how aero it is. Yeah. It's miles off, isn't it? There's
I'm going to flick my laptop out after
this. Yeah. We'll have an hour with you afterwards, and we'll have a new world champion by the end of next year.
I mean, I bet it's cool to be in the Red Bull ecosystem and be able to collaborate with some of the other teams.
It's an absolute dream. Yeah. Honestly, like
if Bruni listens to this podcast, he's going to be on the phone. That's 100%. Right.
I speak with this clothing guy quite a bit with Thomas Perrin because obviously we're specialised clothing as well.
Yes, sure.
Oh, okay.
So we do all the aero testing on that, and he's like, "This is definitely transferring to mountain bike," but it's getting the buy-in. That's all. I face the same kind of problems, not to probably the same degree, but there's always a bit of pushback, a bit of cynicism, conservatism, whatever you want to call it, traditionalist. It's sometimes hard to get an idea that questions what someone believes is best, and maybe someone's done something for their entire career, and they've won despite, not because of that. Making them change their mindset is the hardest problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I feel like too, it feels like it's a perfect place for you to be, because you get to test on some of the best riders in the world now.
It's genuinely a dream in that respect, and the opportunity to just go all in that. To not be a rider anymore, kind of forget about I ride a bike, but more for fun. And just help other people achieve pretty awesome results, and to have so much support behind that. It wasn't just come in and here's a little budget and just do your own thing. It was like, no, we are all in. What do we need to do? What do we do on data science? What do we do with all these different areas of performance? And even the Red Bull Advanced Technology Partnership, to be able to go into a Formula One team and be like, hey guys, can you build this simulation package for us? And they're like, yes, of course.
That's so cool. That's
it's
so cool.
Amazing.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah,
I wonder, as we wrap up, I wonder what a couple of things that people riding road bikes could do to go a little bit faster. What are some?
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Oh, there's loads of things. A lot of it depends on sort of where you're coming from and going to. I would say, firstly, understand what you want to do. Like, are you trying to beat your mate in a sprint? Are you trying to race up a hill really quickly, race down a hill quickly? I mean, again, each their own. What do you enjoy? Figure that out and what's important for that. And then, there's so much knowledge and science out there online. I mean, even with large language models, ChatGPT, etc. They're helpful things for breaking those things down. And then, okay, is it a power thing for sprinting? But then also the aero component. How do you sprint in an aero position? Or your equipment? Okay, go online. Let's look. Are your tyres actually a good choice? What is your optimal pressure for your surface? There's tyre pressure calculators out there, and just think about it objectively.
There's tyre pressure calculator. Is there really?
Yeah,
mass tyre, type of tyre, surface.
Right.
Yeah.
No way.
That's cool. You can kind of run your own little optimization.
I think tackle it like that is how. So rather than buy this or buy that.
Well, that's a good way, isn't it? I can literally do that, change my tyre pressures, and go out and have a ride and.
Be a bit quicker.
Really, it's interesting as much as anything. Just start playing with it. Why not? I'm going to.
And then, can you give us any what you're working on? What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
I'm going deep down a lot of rabbit holes and a lot of things at the moment. We have a lot of, interesting projects with Specialised that are just kicking off. So having joined Specialised, nearly everything for us. If you take the group set, SRAM, they're pretty awesome. We have some cool projects on them. But we're basically starting the next generation of bikes with road bikes and TT bikes, etc. And how do they interplay with wheels and tyres and handlebars and cockpits? Because it's one whole system.
Is there any materials coming along that are going to smoke carbon fibre?
It's more composite variations, I would say.
Are we going to see a fundamental change in, something that's been basically the same since the dawn of time? Is that something that can happen?
Starting to. So
UCI allowed?
Additive manufacturing, 3D printing, for want of a better phrase. That's going to be. So my hour record bike was the first ever 3D printed bike used in competition.
Was it?
Oh wow!
It was heavy. It's 10.2 kilos. It's not a light one, but that was out of purpose. We had a very short time window to get it built, and they were like, "Well, factors of safety matter. Let's throw a bit more in to play it safe." But I was the first person to use one in competition and to break a record on it.
No way!
But I think that's the next frontier, because the way performance is going, we're trying to create, like I said, optimal solutions for every different rider. Well, to tool up carbon fibre is really quite expensive.
Yeah.
It's thousands of pounds. Whereas to be able to just press print, okay, you're going to make 1, 2, 3 of them. It's so much quicker and easier.
Totally.
And I think that's the next direction that we'll move in.
So development will be a lot quicker for a start.
Yeah, we need an in-house 3D printer, a big metal one, and I'll be pressing go on new frames every day.
I can't wait for you to get one of those.
Man, this is so cool. I feel like we need to do a recurring episode with you.
Yes, please.
That would be so good.
Yeah, I think maybe I should rock up at Red Bull Hardlines or something and do
we'll book you for next year.
Yes.
Come and have a look. Cast your eye over it.
I'm very keen.
That would be incredible. And then we'll get you on afterwards to talk about it.
These guys were way out the back.
Exactly.
Dan, this has been really cool. Thank you so much for coming on.
I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, we did. Thanks very much, Dan. Amazing.
Rob, what did you think? What did you think?
I'm still processing. You might have to do this outro on your own. There's a lot of information going in here. It was one of the most. That is That's up there. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone more fascinating, more intelligent, more knowledgeable about what he's doing, like the gains. You think they're there. We're not even started. And he hasn't even got in a downhill yet.
I know. I know. Yeah, totally. I think that like that athlete mindset to always be questioning things, you know, all these like the crank length, the tires and everything. Actually, I'm going to ask all the listeners, write in, just ride at redbull.com, leave comments. I'm trying to get Dan to a World Cup. I want him to go to a World Cup so he can, I want to walk the track. I want him to be like, oh, that person's clothes. Way too baggy.
Imagine what he's going to make out of the clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And he's going to be allowed in a specialised pit. So we have got it in with him, right?
Wait. I want to make that happen. The more comments you leave, the better.
The more pressure on Red Bull to send him. Right. So get him in. Let's have those comments.
Help me out.
Yeah. Because honestly, I can't imagine what might happen. He might change the sport forever in one visit.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening.